the LaxFactor podcast.
What is up, college lacrosse fans? You're watching the 133rd episode of the LaxFactor podcast. Today, we are going to talk about Towson, Virginia, Utah, Bellarmine, lees-mcrae hosting Alabama, Huntsville, Mercer spanked D2 team. So we'll get into all of those games and talk about them today. And as always, be sure to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Seriously, subscribing is super easy. If you're an audio listener only, just hit us up on YouTube, youtube.com/LaxFactor. Give us a subscribe. We're on our way to 10,000 subscribers, so we need you guys to do that for us. And you can also go to laxfactor.com, get yourself swag. We have t-shirts, we have shorts, all sorts of other stuff. Let us get into these games here. First game I want to talk about, Towson at Virginia. Just before the game hit, I think it was one of the college cross guys, Tyler, had broke that UVA would be playing without Matt Moore, and that happened just a handful of hours before the game. And then when the starting lineups showed, Dox Aitken wasn't in the starting lineup, but that's not totally unexpected. So that was a big deal that UVA was going to have to play without Matt Moore, their leading scorer from the last two seasons. But, you know, they're playing Towson, who was 0-6 last year, and they are still loaded. And it was Connor Shellenberger is supposedly the player that took Moore's place in the starting lineup. And, man, Towson came out strong. One of the things I had said in the keys to their game on, I think it was Thursday when I broke it down, was that they had to come out and try to get a couple of cheap goals early. Because that's when you're playing against a team like Virginia, who's just loaded, and you were 0-6 on your way to 0-8 last year. You needed everything that can go your way to go your way. Early on here, they took a 4-2 lead at one point, which was pretty incredible. Brody McLean looked pretty good. So they come out strong, held the lead through a good chunk of the first quarter before Virginia started to settle in and then played good. For anyone that has been following UVA the last couple of years, this was an odd box score in the sense that this was a very kind of new look Cavs team. Connor Shellenberger gets a start on attack. He was wearing the number 1 redshirt freshman. He scored UVA's first goal, hustle goal, picked up a ground ball, stepped down when no one kind of picked him up after he had to loop his way through a couple of guys, and then stuck one. Nice bouncer, low left. And then he scored later on a dodge from out top, corner down into the middle with his right. Stuck it on the run. That looked really good. He looks to be the real deal. I'd like to go through the game and talk about it in sequence, but once UVA got rolling, it was a blowout. So I'd really rather just focus on the individual performances from guys like Shellenberger, Cormier, and the like. So he looks to be the real deal. Seems way more comfortable already on the field than you would expect someone who's just playing in their first Division I game, going for 4 goals and 3 helpers on the day. But then again, they were playing a team that, you know, was not as evenly matched as we would like to see to try to get a real good gauge of UVA. A lot of people were hype, and they were talking about how this means UVA is better than Duke. I know College Cross official Twitter put that out, hyping up UVA, saying maybe they should be the number 1 over Duke because of how UVA played. Listen, UVA played a team that was 0-6 last year, was easily going to probably end up 0-8 because they had, I think, Duke and Denver as their 7th and 8th games, and then they played Hofstra, which is not a guaranteed win after that. I mean, Towson could have been like 1-11 or 1-12 last year, if not over. Although I figure they probably would have got a game. And I had already said not to dump on Towson. Towson was one of the best 0-6 teams I think that has ever existed. They were a solid team that the schedule just fell the wrong way. So they could look a lot different. They did not look a lot different against UVA, either because UVA is really good, which is probably part of the truth, and because Towson's just still struggling to find an identity offensively, which is also pretty true. Although they looked a little bit better than I expected them to. So Shellenberger looks like he is going to pan out for sure. Payton Cormier picked up where he left off last year, albeit he looked a little bit bigger, a little bit stronger, if that's possible, more confident for sure. He's kind of becoming a triple threat in the sense that he's now dodging on poles, feeding. He had a great game, 6 goals, 1 assist. But he's scoring unassisted goals. He's dodging. He's feeding. He did a little bit of everything for UVA, which was good for Virginia. He scored 2 goals in the second quarter, and he's just too big. You know, dodging from the left wing. He backed up the field left-handed. Just too much for Towson to handle overall. Just a big boy, and they couldn't stop him from getting into the middle of the field. He just kept kind of backing his guys in, you know, dodging into the middle of the field from that left wing. I think he did that twice in a row at one point, and he's just too big, too strong, and played way too smart overall. on the day for Towson to be able to handle. Charlie Bertrand, the transfer from Merrimack, he looked incredible. 4 goals and 2 helpers. He was a 2-time D2 Player of the Year, so he looked good. Huge addition. Sneaky pickup, as somebody said in one of the comments, for UVA. He stuck a really beautiful question mark dodge where he kind of snuck up the left side, turned around. It was kind of an extended question mark. Really nice look. Another big key for UVA on the day was Petey freaking LaSala. 1 goal, 1 assist. He dominated the faceoff dot as expected, going 19 of 23 in the draws that he took. And there was some other guys that took draws, but when he was on the field, he dominated. And then the odd part, normal fixtures. Matt Moore, as we said, he didn't play, but Ian Laviano did play. I showed in the box score I looked on UVA's website that he was a double goose egg, 0 for 0, but Inside Lacrosse had him listed with an assist. And Dox Aitken, another stalwart, he was 0 for 0. I think they combined took about 10 shots between the two of them and didn't stick anything. And defensively, Jared Connors, he showed an assist, 6 GBs, and 3 caused turnovers, so he wreaked havoc all over the place. Kaloji played good, and he factored. Alex Rode in cage, 8 saves versus 8 goals against. So not a whole lot of bright spots for Towson in terms of the box score because UVA eventually put it on him. But Towson showed some flashes of being solid in the sense that early in the game they jumped out quick, they got a lead, and it was just UVA overall, and their depth was just too much to take over time. So that ended up burning them a little bit. But a good game, a good show by UVA. Once again, just proves that the ACC is going to be an absolute just shit show across the board and very difficult for these teams to get out. Like, I can't, even with all the Duke super team hype that even I've been partly a part of, nobody's getting out of the ACC undefeated. I cannot imagine that there's going to be an ACC team that doesn't lose at least 1 game in ACC play while you're playing. I think they're playing, 6 games in ACC play? Maybe it was 7. I can't remember. They play everybody once and then 2 teams twice. So, yeah, the ACC is going to be loaded. So now we've seen Duke, and Duke looked good once they got rolling. We see UVA. They look good once they got rolling. And I think next week we get to see Syracuse and Notre Dame. And and today we get to see UNC play here this morning. Actually, within the next couple of less than 2 hours away, we'll see UNC playing Denver later. So that'll be big, too. So good game overall, good game out of Virginia. Towson struggled a little bit, but there were some positives to take away from it on their side as well. They didn't give up. They kept scoring. They got above 10 goals on the day against a very good defensive team. So positives for Towson to take away, but UVA, man, they're looking scary, and that is the absolute truth. Another game, and I actually watched a little bit of this one as well, Utah, Bellarmine, Utah. Man, I had put a tweet out yesterday that if the Utah players and coaches and whatever, if they even knew that I existed, they would say, like, hey, man, that Hoos dude is doing us dirty, because I have picked against them twice. I picked them to get smoked by Denver. I figured they would get beat up by Denver by 8 to 10 goals, maybe more, and they didn't. They hung with Denver to within 2 goals. And then this week they play Bellarmine, and I say, they're going to probably lose to Bellarmine. Bellarmine's a pretty solid team overall. They've got a lot of depth. Utah lost all of their scorers last year. I picked Bellarmine. I figured it would be a low-scoring game, and Bellarmine would pull that out. Utah comes out and beats them 12-7. So I have to stop fronting on Utah, and we'll pretty much have to pick them every game for the rest of the year, at least to cover or beat a team where the matchup is close. Bellarmine struck first, BTB goal. It was a pretty decent goal off a feed from behind, but then Utah scored the next 3, taking a 3-1 lead en route to a 6-3 lead, only to have Bellarmine kind of start battling back, and it looked like the game-tying goal. I'll show you this in sequence. It was a man-up play, and Bellarmine, it was a behind-the-back feed into a fake behind-the-back feed to a wraparound pass down to a guy goal line extended who then fed it back up to the crease. It was like an easy goal once they got it from the feeder to the guy who scored the goal. It was a easy goal with a lot of flash and level of difficulty because of the BTB and then the BTB fake. But Bellarmine ties it up, 6-up, and then Utah rolls from there. And quote from the Bellarmine coach on just kind of how they got it to 6-on-6, but then they just couldn't hold on to it. It says, we expended a ton of energy coming back, and we got to 6-6 and just couldn't get a stop. Whitley said the penalty at 6-6 really killed us. They had a penalty when it was tied, and that was kind of the writing on the wall at the end of it. Really killed us, and it was just too much. I feel like we would have gotten the lead. I can't see anymore, so I'm reading like I can't read. I feel like we would have gotten the lead. If we would have gotten the lead, we could have gotten over the hump, but they played really disciplined offense and made some shots at the end, and we ran out of gas. And that's what Utah has done in these first two games so far. They've taken care of the ball. They have never quit. They play hard. They play good help defense overall, which is evidenced by the fact they were able to keep Bellarmine down to 7 goals. So Utah, even though they lost all those guys on offense, seem to be putting up goals still and playing within their system and taking care of the ball. They're playing wise beyond their years. One of the things I had said was a key for Utah in this game was their guys had to keep playing dumb. And by dumb, I just mean keep playing with no fear because you're too stupid and young to know that you should be fearful. Seems like they're doing that. Utah, Cole Brams, another story here. Cole Brams was one of the reasons Utah hung with Denver at the faceoff dot. Cole Brams goes 15 of 22 from the dot with an assist. And then Jordan Hyde for Utah, 4 goals, 4 shots at one point. I don't know if he had shots later, but I know when he scored his 4th goal, he had only taken 4 shots at that point and scored all 4 of them. Tyler Bradbury, 3-1. Ramsey McCreary, 1-3. Zach Johns and Cage played tough again, 9 saves versus 7 goals. And then for Bellarmine, Landon Trout goes for 2 goals. So good game out of both teams. Utah, though, has proven they're the real deal, and I will not doubt them again the rest of the year. I probably will, and then I will eat whatever chirping gets done to me. Mercer took on Lenoir Rhine. We're not going to talk about this one a lot. There was no feed or anything like that. The only thing to note is Goldsmith is going to be out for a little bit longer, is what we've heard, so that's not good for Mercer. But they win 17-4 over Division II Lenoir Rhine. Colin Stewart, Will McCarthy, and Jack McGuire each went 3-1 in the win for Mercer. So we have that. And then we get into a little bit of D2 ball here, baby. Lees-McCrae lost by a goal in OT to Alabama Huntsville. I even have some highlights that will roll. Alabama Huntsville led most of the game at 2 points. Alabama Huntsville led by most of the game, and at 2 points, they led by quite a bit of a margin, 3-4 goals or so. But then Lees-McCrae battles back. Lees-McCrae scored the first goal of the game and had the first lead of the game. They did not get the lead back until top half of the 4th quarter. But then the game ended up in a tie in regulation as Alabama Huntsville was able to score, tie it up, force overtime. In overtime, Grayson Stevens scored a man-up goal from Preston Dino in overtime, and University of Alabama Huntsville goalie Zach Welsh put up 19 saves to just 10 goals in Alabama Huntsville's win. So Welsh certainly factored in that game, putting up 19 saves in an overtime game. That is huge for a goalkeeper. He wins the goalie battle. His team wins the game. Now, I didn't recap it here, because we already recapped the Duke-Denver game from Friday in yesterday morning's live stream. But if we want to talk about that a little bit for anyone who didn't hear it, because the audio listeners did not get to hear the recap of that game, because we're not going to put the LaxFactor lives up anymore, I don't think, as a podcast, which is kind of dumb, but we'll see how it goes. But anyway, Denver, their keys were against Duke, and the win in their loss against Duke was that they had to come out, play fast, and they did that. They came out and did not start poorly like they did against Utah the week before. They played fast. They needed to play insane man-to-man defense and play really good help defense against Mike Sowers. Early on, they didn't even need to help against Mike Sowers. Mike Sowers just held his own, or not Mike Sowers, whoever they had guarding Mike Sowers held his own and kept Sowers in check early. Duke's keys, just take care of the ball early because it was their first outing. They didn't do that. So the result was 5-1, 6-1 Denver at one point, because Duke, every time they did get the ball, they were turning it over. And then defensively, they couldn't get stops. They kept letting Jackson Morrill get the ball behind in the first half. He scored 3 first-half goals, all of them from X, curling around the top, not even having to question mark, just getting a step on his man, beating him high, and scoring off curl plays or curl dodges. So that was rough for Duke as well. But then once Duke got settled on defense, they had a goalie change. They pull Adler out and they put Upgren in. I don't blame Adler. I said this in the live stream. I don't blame Adler for getting roached. The defense was giving up a lot of really easy shots, and the goal even that there was an outside shot taken. The Adler actually got a stick on, and it was the dude just had time and room, hands free, and they benched Adler after that. But Upgren did come in and play better. And Danowski had mentioned it's not always about benching the goalie for the goalie's sake. Sometimes it's a wake up call to the defense that like, oh shit, our buddy just got benched because we suck, and now we got to play better. And the defense settled down. Upgren did make some really big saves. The defense looked better, and then Duke slowly but surely started chipping back. The one glaring omission in the box score for Denver was Jack Hanna. Jungle Jack Hanna, one of the best midfielders in the country, had to have a good game. 9 shots, 0 goals, 0 helpers. And as we look at the box score for Duke, Sowers, a goal and 3 helpers by the end. Brennan O'Neill, the freshman, 3 goals, 1 assist. Owen Caputa, 2 goals. Denver, Jackson Morrill goes for 3. Silstrop and Kotler both go 2 and 1, and Walker goes for 2 goals. Walker went for 2 goals, but he took like 10 to 12 shots, and Hanna took 9 shots. So between Walker and Hanna, they finished for 2 goals off like 20 shots between the two of them. That's not going to be good enough for Denver to win. In cage, Thompson for Denver, he played tough early. He had 3 saves in the first quarter, only finishes the game, though, with 7 versus 12 goals. And Adler had 3 saves versus 6 goals. He gets benched. Upgren comes in, saves the day, 11 saves against only 4 goals. And like I said, I don't think that was Adler's fault fully. I think the defense was playing pretty rough, left him out to dry a couple of times. But alas, that's what's going to happen. Let's see here. And now today's game. Today, we have UNC now about to face Denver. And once again, I've talked about this already, but because we're about to roll into the game here in a couple of hours, we'll talk about it just real quick, at the end here to top it off. UNC, keys to their game, same as Duke pretty much, and Duke didn't pan out in that way, but UNC wants to come out and play hot early. They want to play loose early. They want to get up the field in transition early. They want to get Solomon and Chris Gray involved early, and they should be okay. Defensively, they're pretty solid. I think offensively, they're a lot better than they are defensively, but learn from Duke's mistakes. Do not let Jackson Morrill get the ball at X. Do not let him kind of run that fade, whereas a midfielder's dodging from a wing towards Morrill at X, that his defender tends to watch. And if he sees his defender watching, if this is the cage, guys dodging this way, he'll start to fade opposite so that by the time he gets the pass, he's over here, his defender's still behind the cage, and then he starts booking up the other side. UNC, that was a terrible description. For anybody who's only listening, I'm sitting here with my hands motioning, and even the people watching had no idea what the hell I was just talking about. But UNC has to defend Morrill better at X. If they can do that, Denver has not proven that they're going to be able to win and outscore teams yet in these first 2 games. They outscored Utah, but barely. They could not outscore Duke. Duke ended up handling that. So UNC, take care of the ball, but play fast and loose and get out and score goals. For Denver, you got to stop these teams in transition, and you just have to put together a full game. Denver played well in the first half. They played insane in the first quarter, well over the course of the first half, and then did not show up for the second half of this game. And when you're playing teams like Duke and UNC, you have to play a full game. So Denver is not going to get away with a win unless they play all 4 quarters. And it's cliche, I know, but sadly it's the truth. So, and Jack Hanna has to factor. Jack Hanna has to he's shot very poorly so far. Last year, part of the big part of his success was, while he did take a lot of shots, he was scoring them at a respectable rate. And so far in these first 2 games, he has shot the ball terribly. So he just has to be better, and Denver will be better. It's a pretty simple proposition there overall. But that's our lone game, I think, today. If there ends up being, here's the weird deal as I try to figure out the schedule here, is I want to stick to the schedule, but then like when there's a Friday night game, I can't help myself but, break that down Saturday morning instead of in this show. So we'll probably just stick to the schedule and keep doing what we're doing. And when there's Saturday games, we'll recap them on Sunday. When there's Friday games, we'll recap those in the live stream on Saturday morning. And then when there's games like today on Sunday, I'm just going to probably shut my mouth maybe and not recap it, or maybe I'll do some kind of random live stream. I'll start trying to pop up when we're going to live stream up on Twitter and crap like that, though. What else do we want to talk about? Let's see. I think we got a little bit more time here, so let's see if we got some news to chat up. Oh, one thing I wanted to say, I actually did take a note about this. Let me get back down to it. One of the things I like that Quint mentioned in the Virginia game yesterday was that what an opportunity these 5th-year players end up having. That, yes, if you want to look at the crap side of it, COVID sucked and everything got thrown in, just everything was weird. And all these players now have to deal with 5 years worth of players on campus, and it's going to eat playing time, and the Ivy Leagues are dealing with what they're dealing with, and that's terrible. But when you look at a scenario like Virginia, kids that transferred away to schools like Virginia, to schools like Duke, to schools like Notre Dame, I mean, these kids are getting an opportunity. Like normally, dude like what's his name? I'm getting there. Bertrand. He was done. If it wasn't for the COVID season, he finishes his senior year at Merrimack. He's done. He could still go to grad school, and that would have been dope. But now, instead of going to grad school and not playing lacrosse, maybe being a graduate assistant coach or something like that, he's now at grad school, bettering himself, furthering himself along his career path, getting a master's degree from Virginia. In Sauer's case, he's getting a master's degree from Duke. I think that's how that's rolling. So these kids are getting to further their education at these wonderful institutions. The Penn transfers are going to Notre Dame. It's like, giddy up, man. What an opportunity for them to get to continue to play lacrosse, to get to continue their education, further themselves along on their career path. So a little bit of a silver lining amongst all the shit that we hear all the time. So I was glad Quint had spit that out. And man, that's it. Week 0. This is officially week 0, so next week is officially week 1, even though I was quoting that all wrong. But I'm not going to stay here and ramble any longer than I have to because there's nothing else to talk about here today. What we will do on Wednesday, we will recap, or we will preview this Wednesday. We'll preview Wednesday morning. It comes out. We'll preview the games for next week. And then on Saturday morning, 10 a.m., we will do the live stream to talk about the games that are coming up and anything that maybe happened on Friday or during the week for that matter. Just do a bunch of random chatting on Saturday morning. And then once again, Sunday morning, just like you're watching now, this show recapping Saturday's events will come out, and then we'll just keep rinsing and repeating. But for once, we're actually keeping on schedule, staying on God's path to 10,000 subscribers. So be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. But subscribe, share with people. Go to LaxFactor.com, get yourself some swag, and support us that way as well. And as always, you can listen to us anywhere where you get audio podcasts, but our home is anchor.fm/LaxFactor. And if you are listening, you can find us anywhere that there's social media, but our video home is youtube.com/LaxFactor, even though we put these videos up on Instagram and Facebook as well. So that is it. I will be back Wednesday morning. Be sure to tune in then. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And Hoost is out.